Hey everyone, welcome back to Sleepless Survivors. Tonight we're doing something different, something darker. We're not just telling you a story, we're dropping you into one. An immersive survival simulation designed specifically for sleep, where you're not just listening, you're experiencing. Before we begin, take a moment to get comfortable, adjust your pillow, pull up your blanket, and if you enjoy this kind of content, go ahead and like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely want to. And drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from and what time it is there. I love knowing there's a whole community of night owls out there with me. Maybe dim the lights, turn on a fan for some white noise, let the world outside fade away, because tonight you're not in your bed anymore, you're somewhere else entirely, somewhere cold, somewhere forgotten, somewhere cursed. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and let's begin your survival. Chapter 1. The Arrival. You don't remember how you got here? That's the first problem. One moment you were driving down a winding mountain road, fog thick as cotton pressing against your windshield. The next, your car sputtered, coughed, and died. Just stopped. No warning lights, no grinding gears, just silence. You coasted to the side of the road, gravel crunching under your tyres. When you tried the ignition, nothing, not even a click. Your phone showed no signal. Of course it didn't. You were miles from the nearest town, surrounded by dense forest that seemed to swallow the light. That's when you saw it through the trees. A structure, massive and dark, barely visible through the mist. A castle, or what remained of one. You shouldn't have approached it. Every instinct told you to stay with the car, wait for morning, flag down another driver. But the temperature was dropping fast. Your breath was already forming clouds, and that castle, crumbling and forsaken as it was, promised shelter. The walk through the forest felt wrong. The trees were too quiet. No birds, no insects, not even the rustle of small animals in the undergrowth. Just your footsteps on dead leaves and the occasional crack of a branch that made your heart jump into your throat. The castle loomed larger with every step. Stone walls covered in ivy, towers with collapsed roofs, windows like empty eye sockets staring down at you. The front gate, massive wooden doors reinforced with iron, stood partially open. As if waiting. You called out. Your voice echoed and died. No response. The smart thing would have been to turn back, but the wind was picking up now, cutting through your jacket like it wasn't there. And somewhere deep inside that castle, you thought you saw a flicker of light. So you stepped through the gate. The courtyard was overgrown with weeds pushing through cracked cobblestones. A fountain stood in the centre, dry and crumbling, its statue worn smooth by centuries of weather. You couldn't tell what it had once depicted, just a vague human shape with its arms raised, frozen mid-gesture. The main entrance to the castle proper was ahead. Another set of doors, smaller but still imposing. One hung crooked on broken hinges. You pushed it open. The sound echoed through the space beyond, a cavernous entrance hall with a ceiling lost in shadow. Dust motes danced in the thin light filtering through gaps in the walls. The air smelled of mould, decay, and something else. Something metallic and old. Your footsteps on the stone floor were too loud. Each one announced your presence to whatever might be listening, and that's when you heard it. A sound from deeper in the castle. Not quite a voice, not quite music. Something between a whisper and a moan, rising and falling like breathing. You should have left then. Walked back through those doors, back through the forest, back to your car, and waited for dawn no matter how cold it got. But you didn't. Because the doors behind you, the ones you just entered through, swung shut with a boom that shook dust from the rafters. You ran back, pushed against them. They didn't budge, not locked, just impossibly heavy, as if the castle itself was holding them closed. That's when you realised the truth. You weren't taking shelter in this castle. The castle was taking you. Welcome to your first night. Survival starts now. Chapter 2. The Rules of the Castle. Panic is a luxury you can't afford. That's the first lesson. You stand in the entrance hall, your back against the doors that won't open, you're breathing too fast, your mind racing through scenarios that all end badly. But panic burns energy, clouds judgment, and in a place like this, both could kill you. So you force yourself to breathe slowly, in through your nose, out through your mouth. You count to 4 on each breath. An old technique, something you learned years ago, and it works. Your heart rate slows, your thoughts clear. assessment. That's what you need. Information. The entrance hall is massive, easily 50 feet across and twice as long. A grand staircase dominates the far end, splitting into 2 curved arms that lead to a second-floor balcony. Several doorways branch off from the main hall, dark openings that could lead anywhere. The ceiling is partially collapsed in places, allowing thin streams of dying daylight to penetrate. You check your watch, 4:30 in the afternoon. You have maybe 2 hours of light left, less inside this place. Your phone is useless for calling, but the flashlight still works. You test it. The beam cuts through the darkness, revealing details you'd missed. Faded tapestries on the walls, rotted and torn, broken furniture pushed against the walls, and something else. Markings. Someone has been here before, recently. Scratched into the stone near one of the doorways, barely visible, are words, "Don't sleep in the halls." Below that, in different handwriting, "The portraits watch at night." And below that, in shaky letters that trail off, "It knows you're..." Nah. The message cuts off mid-word as if the writer had been interrupted, or dragged away. You shine your light on the other doorways. More markings. Some are warnings, some are cryptic, some are just tally marks. Someone counting days. One message carved deep into the doorframe with what must have been a knife reads, "The castle feeds on fear." Another, painted in what you hope is just rust, says, "Never enter the east wing after dark." These aren't random. They're rules. Survival tips left by people who came before. People who learned things the hard way. You pull out your own pen and a scrap of paper from your pocket. Begin copying them down. Don't sleep in the halls. The portraits watch at night. The castle feeds on fear. Never enter the east wing after dark. You find more as you explore the entrance hall. Keep moving before midnight. If you hear your name, don't answer. The kitchen is safe until the bells ring. Trust nothing that looks familiar. Fire keeps them back, but not for long. Count the doors. There should be 7. That last one makes you pause. You turn slowly, counting the doorways leading out of the entrance hall. 6. You count again. Still 6. Either someone miscounted or doors appear and disappear. Neither option is comforting. You check your supplies. Your jacket has a few protein bars in the pocket, a water bottle half full, your keys and wallet, the pen, and your phone with about 60% battery. Not much. Definitely not enough for an extended stay. But the biggest problem isn't supplies, it's shelter. It's nightfall in less than 2 hours, and you need to find somewhere safe to wait it out. Somewhere you can defend if necessary. Somewhere that's not the halls, not near the portraits, and definitely not the east wing. The warnings mention the kitchen is safe until the bells ring. You haven't heard any bells yet, so the kitchen might be your best bet. But which doorway leads to it? You approach the nearest door, the one with the warning about the east wing. The door itself is oak, heavy, with iron fittings. You press your ear against it, listening. Nothing. You try the handle. It turns easily, too easily, and the door swings open on silent hinges. Beyond is a corridor stretching into darkness. The walls are lined with portraits, dozens of them, facing each other across the narrow space. Even in the dim light from your phone, you can see their eyes. All of them seem to be looking at you. You remember the warning. The portraits watch at night. This hallway has to lead somewhere, but do you really want to walk between those watching faces as darkness falls? You close the door and try the next one. This opens into what might have been a ballroom. Vast, empty, with a floor of cracked marble. Chandeliers hang from the ceiling like crystal skeletons. At the far end, massive windows look out onto the forest, the glass somehow still intact. The light here is better, but the room is too exposed, too open. No place to hide if something comes. The third door is locked. You rattle it, but it doesn't budge. The fourth opens onto a servant's staircase, narrow and spiralling down into darkness. Cold air rises from below, carrying that metallic smell you noticed earlier. Stronger here. You shine your light down, but the stairs twist out of sight quickly. This leads to the dungeons, you're certain, and dungeons are never a good idea. The fifth door opens easily, revealing a corridor that looks promising. The walls here are stone, but lined with wood panelling, less damaged than the rest. Doors branch off at regular intervals, and at the far end, you can see what looks like a large room with a fireplace. You step into the corridor and immediately feel the temperature drop. Your breath mists. Something about this hallway makes your skin crawl, but you can't identify why. It looks normal, almost welcoming compared to the rest of the castle. Then you notice. The The doors along the corridor, you count them as you walk forward, slowly. 7. This is it. This corridor has 7 doors, just like the warning said there should be. But the warning said to count the doors in the entrance hall, not in a corridor. You stop walking. Something is wrong. The corridor seems longer now than when you first looked. The door at the far end, the one with the fireplace, seems further away. You turn to look back at the entrance hall. The door you came through is gone. Where there should be an opening back to the main hall, there's just wall. Solid stone, as if the doorway never existed. The castle is changing. You fight down the panic again and think. The warning said keep moving before midnight. You check your watch. 5 o'clock. You have 7 hours until midnight. Whatever happens then, you don't want to be caught standing still. You choose one of the 7 doors at random, the third one on the left, and open it quickly. A bedroom. Small, simple, with a narrow bed covered in dust, a wardrobe, and a window so grimy you can barely see through it. But more importantly, there's a door on the opposite wall, an exit. You cross the room, trying not to think about the footprints you're leaving in the dust, the first marks in what might be decades. The opposite door opens into another corridor, and this one you recognise from descriptions you've read of medieval castles. This is a service passage, the kind servants use to move through the building unseen. Narrow, low-ceilinged, but it runs straight, and at the end you can smell something. Smoke. Old smoke, like from a fireplace that hasn't been used in years but still holds the scent. Where there's a fireplace, there's usually a kitchen. You follow the corridor, moving quickly now, counting your steps to stay focused. 30 steps, then the corridor opens into a wider space, the kitchen. It's large, medieval, with a massive hearth dominating one wall. The ceiling is vaulted stone blackened by centuries of smoke. Long wooden tables fill the centre, scarred by knife marks. Copper pots hang from hooks, tarnished but intact. And wonder of wonders, there's wood stacked near the hearth. Someone prepared this place. Someone who knew they'd need fire. You check the room carefully. One entrance, the way you came in. One exit, a large door that probably leads to a dining hall or pantry. No windows, which means no light once the sun sets, but also no way for anything to look in. And there, near the hearth, carved into the stone, safe until the bells. This is it, your shelter for the night. You immediately begin preparing. First, you test the door to the dining hall. Locked, and it feels solid. Good. One less direction to defend. Then you turn to the fireplace. The wood is old but dry. You arrange it carefully, using smaller pieces as kindling. You don't have matches, but your phone has a lighter app, and after a few tries, you manage to coax a flame from a piece of torn fabric you find on one of the tables. The fire catches. Warmth and light spread through the kitchen. For the first time since entering the castle, you feel something like relief. You drag one of the tables across the entrance you came through, barricading it. Not much, but it'll make noise if something tries to come through. Then you take inventory properly. 2 protein bars, half a bottle of water, your phone at 58% battery now, your keys, wallet, pen, and the paper with the rules. You add to the list. The castle changes its layout. Don't trust your memory of where things are. If a door disappears, you went the wrong way. You're settling in, trying to convince yourself that you'll make it through the night when you hear it. Distant, echoing through the castle's stone corridors. Bells, ringing slowly, methodically. 1, 2, 3. They continue until they reach 12. But it's not midnight. Your watch says it's only 5:45. The bells aren't marking time. They're announcing something. And according to the warning, once the bells ring, the kitchen is no longer safe. Chapter 3. The first night. The echoes of the bells fade, but their weight hangs in the air like a held breath. You're on your feet listening. The fire crackles, your heart pounds. Nothing else. Maybe the warning was wrong. Maybe the bells don't mean what you think they mean. Maybe the table you used as a barricade moves. Not violently, not dramatically. It just slides sideways, smoothly, as if pushed by invisible hands. It doesn't make a sound beyond the whisper of wood on stone. You grab the heaviest thing within reach, a cast iron pan from the hanging collection, and hold it like a weapon. Your other hand grips your phone, flashlight pointed at the doorway. The table settles against the wall, leaving the entrance completely open. The corridor beyond is dark. Your light doesn't penetrate far, but you can see movement. Shadows, shifting and flowing like water. They don't enter the kitchen. but they gather at the threshold, pressing against. An invisible barrier. The fire. They're afraid of the fire. Warning number 9. Fire keeps them back, but not for long. You glance at your wood supply. Maybe enough for 3 hours if you're conservative. After that, darkness. A new plan forms. You can't stay in the kitchen, but you can't go out there either. Not yet. Not while those shadows are waiting. You need to understand what you're dealing with. Information is survival. You keep the fire fed, keep your eyes on the doorway, and you think, the castle is cursed. That much is obvious. But curses aren't random. They have rules, logic, even if it's twisted logic. The warnings left by previous visitors prove that survival is possible. People have learned the patterns and lived long enough to write them down, some of them anyway. The question is, what does the castle want? The warning said it feeds on fear. That's not metaphorical. Something here literally draws power from terror, which means showing fear makes it stronger. You force your breathing to steady again. You can be afraid, that's natural. But you can't let the fear control you. Can't let it feed whatever's out there in the dark. An hour passes. The shadows at the doorway haven't moved. They hover, waiting, patient. Your phone battery is at 42%. You've been using the flashlight too much. You turn it off, relying on firelight. The kitchen falls into a dance of orange and black, familiar shadows that at least follow predictable rules. That's when you notice the sounds, not from the doorway, from above. Footsteps, slow, measured, pacing back and forth across the ceiling. The kitchen must be on the ground floor, which means someone or something is on the second floor, directly above you. The pattern of the steps is too regular to be natural. 5 steps forward, pause, 5 steps back, pause, repeat. Like a guard on patrol or a prisoner pacing a cell. You remember the grand staircase in the entrance hall leading up to the second floor? Whatever's up there has the high ground. If you leave the kitchen, you might encounter it. But you can't stay here. The fire is already half gone. You make a decision. Fast movement. Don't let the shadows or whatever's upstairs react. Get to another safe location before they can corner you. The warnings mention 7 doors. Count the doors. You haven't fully explored that rule yet, but it feels important. Navigation in a castle that changes requires landmarks, and if the number 7 has significance, it might be your way to track movement. You grab a piece of burning wood from the fire as a torch. It's a risk, taking fire from your only warm place, but you'll need light where you're going. With your makeshift torch in one hand and the iron pan in the other, you approach the doorway. The shadows pull back. Not fleeing, just repositioning, making space. They want you to leave the kitchen. This is a trap, you're certain, but it's a trap you have to spring because staying is guaranteed. Death. You step through the doorway. The shadows close behind you, immediately blocking your retreat. Fine. You weren't planning to go back anyway. The corridor stretches in both directions, left or right. You choose right, arbitrary, and start walking. Fast, but not running. Running is panic, and panic is food for this place. The torch illuminates about 10 feet ahead. Beyond that, solid darkness. You count your steps, count your breaths. Try to maintain some sense of direction, even though you know the castle is actively working against that. A doorway appears on your left. You test it. Locked. Another 10 steps. A doorway on your right. This one opens into a room filled with broken furniture, smashed beyond any use. You close it and keep moving. The corridor ends at a T-junction. You have to choose. Left, you hear water dripping. Right, you hear nothing. Nothing is suspicious. You go left, toward the water. The sound grows louder as you walk. Drip, drip, drip. Rhythmic. Constant. The floor here is wet, puddles reflecting your torchlight. The walls glisten with moisture. You round a corner and stop. A fountain. Here, inside the castle, in the middle of a corridor. It's the same design as the one in the courtyard, a human figure with arms raised. But this one is intact, and water flows from its hands, clear and steady, pooling at the base before draining through cracks in the floor. This makes no sense. No pipes, no visible source. The water just flows. You're thirsty. Your water bottle is nearly empty. The water looks clean, clearer than any water you've seen from ancient plumbing has a right to be. Warning number 8. Trust nothing that looks familiar. This fountain is identical to the one outside. Too identical. and there's something wrong with the statue's face. You lift your torch higher to see it better. It has no features, no eyes, no nose, no mouth. Just smooth stone where a face should be. And as you watch, you realise the hands aren't raised in celebration or prayer, they're reaching, grabbing for something. You back away from the fountain without drinking. The dripping stops. All at once, complete silence. Even your footsteps seem muted now. Then you hear your name, whispered, soft, coming from the darkness behind you. Your actual name, the one your mother gave you, the one only people who really know you use. Warning number 6. If you hear your name, don't answer. Every instinct screams at you to turn around, to respond, to acknowledge. Your name is called again, more insistent. A third time, angry now, you walk forward, away from the voice, refusing to respond. Your jaw clenches so hard it hurts. The voice follows, still calling, but you round another corner and it cuts off mid-syllable. You're in a new section of the castle now. The architecture here is different, older. The stones are more weathered, the air heavier, and there, ahead, you see them. 7 doors. They're arranged along a single corridor. 3 on the left, 4 on the right. Just like the warning said. This is a landmark, a navigational anchor. You count them carefully, making sure. Yes, 7. Your torch is burning low now. You need to choose a door and hope it leads somewhere safe before the flames die. The first door on the left. You press your ear against it. Silence. The second door on the left. From beyond, you hear that pacing sound again. 5 steps. Pause. 5 steps. Pause. The third door on the left. Locked. The first door on the right opens into a stairwell going down. The metallic smell wafts up. Definitely the dungeons. You close it quickly. The second door on the right. A bedroom, similar to the one you passed through before. Dusty, abandoned, but there's a fireplace here and it's been used recently. Ash still sits in the grate, days old at most. Someone sheltered here. On the wall next to the fireplace, scratched into the stone. Made it 3 nights. Nothing else. No indication if they survived a 4th. The third door on the right. A library. Shelves from floor to ceiling filled with books in various states of decay. A desk sits near the back, and on it papers. More writings from previous visitors. The 4th door on the right. You don't get a chance to open it. As your hand touches the handle, you hear movement from deeper in the castle. Not the pacing footsteps. Something else. Something large, dragging across stone. Your torch flickers and dies. Darkness swallows you whole. Chapter 4. Darkness and Discovery. You freeze. Every muscle locks as your eyes desperately try to adjust to the absolute blackness that now surrounds you. There's no adjustment. The darkness here is total, suffocating, the kind that makes you question whether your eyes are even open. The dragging sound grows louder, closer, something heavy being pulled across stone, grinding and scraping with rhythmic determination. From the sound, it's coming from the direction you just came from, which means it's between you and any retreat. You force your hand to move to your pocket, fingers fumbling for your phone. The screen light, when it activates, is blinding after the darkness. You squint against it, temporarily night blind. The 4th door. You need to get through it now. You wrench the handle and practically fall through, pulling the door shut behind you. There's no lock, no way to secure it. You press your back against it and wait, phone light pointed forward, breathing as quietly as possible. The dragging sound passes by. It doesn't stop at your door, doesn't even slow. Whatever it is, it's not hunting, just patrolling. Following a route it's travelled 1,000 times before. When the sound finally fades, you risk looking around. You're in a study. Smaller than the library, more personal. A desk, a chair, shelves of books still intact because they're protected behind glass. No fireplace, but there are candles. Dozens of them, sitting on every surface, ranging from fat pillars to thin tapers. And they're fresh. The wax isn't old or dusty. These have been placed here recently. On the desk, a journal lies open. The handwriting is neat, controlled, but the content is anything but. Day 9. Figured out the pattern of the bells. They don't mark time. They mark hunting hours. After the bells, everything that was stationary begins to move. The shadows hunt. The thing in the east wing wakes. The portraits step out of their frames. You have from the bells until midnight to find shelter. After midnight, different rules apply. You flip back through the pages. This person, whoever they were, survived 9 days in here. 9 days. They documented everything. Day 3. Found the 7 doors. They're safe points. As long as you can see all 7 at once, you're in a neutral zone. The castle respects the number. Don't know why. Ancient magic? Architectural significance? Doesn't matter. The 7 doors are anchors. Day 5. The water from the faceless fountain is poisoned. Not chemically, spiritually. Drink it and you'll forget who you are. Found a victim of it, wandering the halls, couldn't remember their own name. The castle fed on them until there was nothing left but echoes. Day 7. The East Wing is forbidden for a reason. Whatever lives there isn't bound by the same rules as the shadows or the portraits. It's older. The castle fears it. That's why the warning isn't, don't enter, but never enter after dark. Because during the day, even that thing has to sleep. Day 9. I know how to escape. The front doors will open, but only under specific conditions. First, you have to survive until dawn. Second, you have to... The entry ends. The next page is torn out, removed violently. The ragged edge is still visible. Someone didn't want that information shared. You check your phone. 7:23 p.m. Battery at 31%. You've been in this castle less than 3 hours and it feels like days. According to the journal, you're in the hunting hours now. From the bells until midnight. Roughly 4.5 hours to find proper shelter. But the journal also mentioned that after midnight different rules apply. It doesn't say if those rules are better or worse. You light one of the candles using your phone's lighter app. The warm glow pushes back the darkness, and you immediately feel a degree safer. You light several more, creating a perimeter of light around the desk. Then you continue reading. The earlier entries are more mundane. This person, a hiker named Marcus, according to a scrawled note on the inside cover, had also taken shelter in the castle during a storm. He'd been here alone for 9 days before whatever happened to him. Day 1, door won't open, phone dead, found warnings on the walls, this is going to be a long night. Day 2, survived. The kitchen was safe until the bells, then I moved to the bedroom with the fireplace. Something tried the door around 2 a.m. but couldn't get in as long as I kept the fire going. Notice the fire never spreads to the wood floor or furniture. The castle doesn't want to burn. Fire is a weapon. Day 4. Starting to understand. This place isn't just haunted. It's alive. It's a predator. It lures people in, feeds on them, grows stronger. The warnings on the walls, other victims. Some survived long enough to write them. Most didn't. Day 6. Found the portrait gallery. Big mistake. They can see you even during the day. Their eyes follow. And at night they can leave their frames. Saw one walking the hall, still flat like a painting but moving. It disappeared around a corner. Didn't follow. Won't make that mistake. Day 8. The castle is getting impatient. Fewer safe rooms. Doors that were unlocked yesterday are sealed now. It's herding me somewhere. I think it wants me in the East Wing. I won't go. I'll die in these halls before I go there willingly. You flip to the last page with writing. The handwriting is shakier now, rushed. Day 9, late. I was wrong. The escape isn't about surviving, it's about understanding. The castle isn't evil, not exactly. It's trapped. Something bound it here centuries ago, cursed it to hunger eternally. It doesn't want to feed, it has to. We're not its prey, we're its sustenance. And the thing in the East Wing, that's not a monster, that's... The entry ends. No period, no signature. Just stops mid-thought. You search the study for any other clues. In the desk drawers you find more candles, matches and a small knife. Practical tools. You take them all. There's also a map. Rough, hand-drawn, but it shows a layout of the castle. Marcus tried to chart it despite the changing corridors. Some areas are marked safe, others avoid. The East Wing is coloured entirely in black ink with the words, "Never go here," written across it multiple times. But there's another marking, one that makes your pulse quicken. Near what should be the dungeon level, Marcus drew a symbol, a key, and next to it, the way out, check the oldest cell. The dungeons. The place with the metallic smell and the spiral stairs leading down into cold darkness. Of course, the escape route would be in the most dangerous place. You check your phone again, 7:40 p.m, battery at 29%. You've been using it too much. Decision time. Do you try for the dungeons now, during the hunting hours, while things are actively moving through the castle? Or do you wait until after midnight when different rules apply? Marcus's journal suggested that midnight shifts the danger, but doesn't eliminate it, and you have no idea what you'll face down there. The candles give you an idea. You can carry them, create mobile light sources, and you have matches now. Fire is your weapon, your shield. You gather 6 candles of various sizes, pocket the matches and knife, fold the map carefully and prepare to move. That's when you hear it again. The pacing above. 5 steps, pause, 5 steps, pause. But this time the footsteps stop, directly. Above this room, you hear creaking, the sound of old wood bending under weight. The ceiling groans, then slowly dust begins to drift down from a crack in the stone. Whatever's up there knows you're here, and it's coming through the floor. Chapter 5. The Portrait Gallery. You grab everything, blow out the candles except one, and move to the door. But as your hand touches the handle, you remember. The dragging thing. It was patrolling the corridor outside, trapped between 2 threats. Classic. The ceiling groans again, louder. The crack widens, debris falling. You can't stay. You open the door slowly, quietly, and peer out into the corridor. The 7 doors are still visible, illuminated by your single candle's glow. No sign of the dragging thing. Either it's moved on to another section, or it's waiting silently for you to emerge. Only one way to find out. You step into the corridor and immediately feel the temperature difference. The study was cold, but out here it's freezing. Your breath fogs thick. Your exposed skin prickles with more than just cold. Behind you, in the study, something heavy hits the floor. You don't look back. You move to the 3rd door on the left, the one that was locked before, and test it again. It opens now. Of course it does. The castle is herding you. Beyond the door is a gallery. Long, narrow, with paintings covering every inch of wall space from floor to ceiling. Hundreds of portraits, maybe thousands, disappearing into the gloom at the far end. This is it. The portrait gallery Marcus warned about. You hesitate. Every instinct says not to enter this room. But from the study behind you comes the sound of heavy footsteps and the crash of furniture being overturned. Whatever came through the ceiling is searching, and it's angry. The gallery, or face what's behind you. Some choice. You enter the gallery and close the door softly. The latch clicks into place with a sound that seems impossibly loud. Then silence. Absolute tomb-like silence. The candle in your hand flickers, and in that flicker, every portrait on the walls seems to shift. When the flame steadies, they're still again. You tell yourself it was just a trick of the light. You don't believe yourself. You start walking, keeping to the centre of the gallery, as far from the walls as possible. The portraits watch, not metaphorically. Their eyes literally track your movement. A woman in Renaissance dress, a soldier in armour, a child with a too-wide smile, a priest with empty eye sockets, each one painted in exquisite detail, each one clearly from a different era. Centuries of trapped souls staring from their gilded prisons. Marcus's note said they can leave their frames at night. You check your phone. 8:07 p.m. Still hunting hours. Still night by any reasonable definition. You walk faster. The gallery seems to stretch as you move, always maintaining the same distance to the far end. Another spatial impossibility in a castle full of them, but you keep going, because stopping seems worse. That's when you notice the empty frame. It hangs between 2 portraits of elderly men, both wearing medieval robes. The frame is ornate, gold leaf and carved angels, but the canvas it once held is gone. Cut out cleanly, leaving only the wooden backing. Your candle flickers again. When light returns, a figure stands in the empty frame. Flat, 2-dimensional, but unmistakably present. A woman in a tattered dress, her face beautiful and terrible, her hand reaching out of the frame toward you. You freeze. Marcus said they're still flat when they leave their frames, still paintings, just mobile ones. The figure's hand extends further. The painted fingers stretch, distort, reaching for your face. Fire is a weapon. You thrust your candle toward the reaching hand. The painted fingers recoil instantly, withdrawing back into the frame. For a moment you see genuine fear on the woman's flat face. Then she's gone, the frame empty again. You don't wait to see if she returns. You run. The portraits blur past. Faces. So many faces, all of them watching, many of them shifting now as if preparing to step free. Your candle flame streams behind you. barely clinging to life. The end of the gallery materializes suddenly. A door, heavy oak with an iron ring for a handle. You hit it at full speed, wrenching the handle and throwing yourself through. You slam the door behind you and lean against it, gasping. Your candle went out during the run. You're in darkness again, but you can hear nothing pursuing. The door, solid and real, separates you from the gallery. For now, you fumble for your phone. 23% battery. You'll need to ration this more carefully. You light one of the spare candles with your matches instead, preserving phone power. The new light reveals your surroundings. You're in what was once a chapel. Wooden pews, rotted and broken, line both sides of a centre aisle. At the far end, an altar stands beneath a massive stained glass window. Surprisingly, the window is intact, though filthy. Moonlight filters through coloured glass, casting fractured patterns of red, blue and gold across the floor. The chapel feels different from the rest of the castle. Quieter, almost peaceful. There's no sense of malevolence here. No watching presence. Just emptiness and decay. You walk down the aisle, candle raised, examining the space. The walls are covered in carved reliefs, religious scenes worn smooth by time. Behind the altar, you notice something that makes you stop. A door. Small, wooden, nearly invisible against the carved stone, and above it, scratched into the rock, the library, Answers. This must be the library you glimpsed before, the one with papers and documents. Marcus's writing suggested there were answers somewhere in this castle. Maybe this is where he found them. You approach the small door and try the handle. It opens soundlessly. Beyond is indeed a library, but not the one you saw near the 7 doors. This one is older, smaller, more intimate. The books here are ancient, leather-bound tomes chained to the shelves, a preservation method from centuries past, keeping valuable manuscripts from being stolen, or keeping them from escaping. A reading desk sits in the centre of the room, and on it more papers. These aren't journal entries, they're historical documents. Faded, written in archaic language, but still legible. You set your candle down carefully and begin to read. Chapter 6. The Castle's History. The first document appears to be a land deed, dated 1347. The castle, then known as Blackmere Keep, was granted to Lord Edmund Hartwick following his service in foreign wars. The language is formal, full of legal terminology, but one phrase stands out, and all rights and dominions therein, both temporal and eternal. Eternal. An odd word for a land grant. The next document is a letter, dated 1349. Dearest brother, I write to you in desperation. The sickness has come. The plague they speak of in the cities has found us here in our remote valley. It began in the village, then spread to the keep. Half our household is dead or dying. The physician can do nothing. The priest offers prayers, but God seems not to hear. Lord Edmund has taken measures. He consulted with a woman from the old country, one versed in arts the church condemns. She promised protection, a binding that would keep death from our doors. The price seemed reasonable at the time. Brother, we were fools. The binding worked too well. Death cannot enter Blackmere now, but neither can it leave. Those who die here do not rest. They linger, trapped between life and the grave. The castle feeds on them, grows stronger from their anguish. Edmund realizes his mistake too late. He sealed the bargain with his own blood, and now he cannot break it. We are prisoners in our own home, surrounded by the dead who cannot die. If you receive this letter, do not come. Tell others to avoid this place. Let the forest reclaim it. Let Blackmere be forgotten. Your brother in sorrow, Sir Rowland Hartwick. The letter ends there, unsigned beyond the closing. Whether Sir Rowland ever escaped or joined the castle's collection of trapped souls, there's no way to know. You find more documents. Lists of household members, all marked with death dates. Construction records showing expansions and modifications to the keep. And then, a ritual text. This one is in Latin, but your high school education is enough to puzzle out the basics. It's an incantation, a binding spell designed to create a barrier against death itself. The components are listed: blood of the Lord, bones of the first dead, earth from consecrated ground, and water from the river of souls. There are diagrams showing where these components must be placed. The 4 corners of the castle, creating a ward, and at the centre, in what the text calls the heart of the keep, an anchor point, the place where the spell draws its power, the east wing, of course. The forbidden area, the place even the castle's own horrors avoid. That's where Lord Edmund created his catastrophic mistake. That's where the binding still holds, and according to Marcus's note, that's where the escape might be. You sit back, processing this information. The castle isn't just haunted, it's cursed with a perverted form of immortality. Death can't claim anyone here, which means all the souls trapped over the centuries are still present. The shadows, the portraits, the thing that paces, even the castle itself. All of them victims of Edmund's desperation. But there's more. You shuffle through the remaining papers and find a journal. Not Marcus's. This one is much older, leather cracked with age, ink faded but still readable. Year of our Lord 1351. I, Brother Thomas, last surviving member of the Hartwick household, do record this final testimony. Lord Edmund is gone. Not dead, for death will not have him. He transformed into something else, something that stalks the East Wing and howls at night. The binding consumed him from within, made him into its guardian. I have attempted every counterspell, every prayer, every ritual of unbinding I can find. Nothing works. The curse is too strong, fed by too much death, too much fear accumulated over these years. But I have discovered a weakness. The binding requires maintenance. Once per century, at the precise moment of its creation, the spell must be reinforced. If it is not, if the East Wing remains empty during that hour, the binding will begin to fail. It will take years, perhaps decades, but eventually it will break. That moment falls on All Hallows' Eve, at the stroke of midnight in the year of each centenary. The next such moment will be in 1447. I will not live to see it, but perhaps someone someday will find this record and use it to free this cursed place. The East Wing must remain empty. Edmund must not perform the ritual. If he is prevented, even for that single hour, the binding will weaken. Do this for 7 cycles, 700 years, and the curse will finally break. May God forgive us all for what we created here. You check the date on your phone. October 31st, Halloween, All Hallows' Eve, and the castle was built in 1347, which means the next centenary is, you do the math, 1447, 1547, 1647, 1747, 1847, 1947, 2047. Your blood runs cold. Tonight. The cycle completes tonight at midnight, the 7th centenary. If Edmund, or whatever he's become, performs the ritual at midnight in the East Wing, the binding reinforces for another 100 years. But if he's prevented, if the East Wing remains empty, the curse breaks. This is why you're here. This is why the castle let you in. It needs someone to either stop Edmund or become his replacement. You're not a random victim. You're a piece in a game that's been playing for 700 years. You gather the documents, folding them carefully. This information is too important to leave behind. If you fail, maybe someone else will find it. Your candle is half burned now. You check your phone. 9:18 p.m. Just over 2.5 hours until midnight. You need to reach the East Wing, but Marcus's warnings were clear. Never enter after dark, except you have to enter after dark. Tonight is the only chance to break this curse. You stand collecting your supplies when you hear it. From somewhere deep in the castle, a howl. Not human, not animal, something in between. It echoes through the stone halls, rising and falling with unnatural resonance. Edmund, the thing he became, and from the sound, it's awake and moving. The hunting hours continue. You need to navigate from the chapel to the East Wing while avoiding the shadows, the portraits, and whatever Edmund has become. All with a handful of candles, a knife, and knowledge of a curse you might not be able to break. You take a deep breath. Fear feeds this place. You can't afford fear. You blow out your candle, conserving it, and use your phone's light instead. Battery at 20%. Enough. It has to be enough. The chapel door opens to a new corridor, not one you've seen before. The castle is still changing, still herding, but now you understand why. It's trying to keep you away from the East Wing until after midnight, until Edmund completes his ritual. You consult Marcus's hand-drawn map. The East Wing should be on the 2nd floor above the main entrance hall. If you can find the grand staircase, you can navigate there, assuming the staircase hasn't moved. You choose a direction and start walking, counting steps, counting doors, trying to maintain some sense of position. The corridor winds, splitting and rejoining in ways that defy architecture, but you're learning to read the castle's patterns. When you reach a section with portraits on the walls, you know you're near the gallery. When you smell mould and dampness, you're near the dungeon stairs. When you feel warmth, there's a fireplace nearby. The castle has its tells, you just have to learn them. A doorway on your left opens into a room you recognise, the bedroom where Marcus spent a night. The fireplace still has ash. You take a moment to check the room thoroughly, searching for anything useful. In the wardrobe, hidden behind rotted clothes, you find a crowbar. Heavy, iron, practical. You take it. Better weapon than the knife. On the wall, partially hidden behind a tapestry, you find another message. The thing in the east wing can be bound with salt and iron. Salt and iron. Traditional protections against supernatural entities. The crowbar is iron. But salt? Where would you find salt in an abandoned castle? The kitchen. If there's anywhere salt would be stored, it's there. You check your mental map. The kitchen is back near where you started, which means retracing your steps through potentially dangerous territory. But if that information is accurate, if salt and iron can bind Edmund, it might be your only chance. Decision made. You need to get to the kitchen, gather salt, then make your way to the east wing before midnight. You have 2 hours and 37 minutes. You exit the bedroom and navigate using the map and your growing intuition. The castle tries to confuse you, shifting corridors and changing door locations. But you're not panicking anymore, you're thinking. When a corridor seems to stretch, you close your eyes and walk by counting steps, refusing to let the visual illusion disorient you. When a door appears that shouldn't be there, you ignore it and search for the door that should be. And slowly, methodically, you make progress. You pass the 7 doors again, confirming your position. From here, you know the kitchen is down 2 levels, and to the west. There's a servant staircase near the 4th door. The staircase is dark, narrow and steep. Your phone light barely illuminates 3 steps ahead. You descend carefully, one hand on the wall, the crowbar ready in the other. The smell hits you halfway down. Not the metallic dungeon smell. This is food. Rotting food. Which makes no sense in a castle abandoned for centuries, unless it's not abandoned. You reach the bottom of the stairs and find yourself in a storage room. Shelves line the walls, filled with provisions, dried meats hanging from hooks, barrels of grain, jars of preserved vegetables, all of it fresh, not centuries old, days old at most. Someone is living in this castle, or something is maintaining the appearance of life. You search quickly, looking for salt. There, on a shelf near the door leading to the kitchen, a ceramic jar labelled Sal in faded script. You grab it, finding it half full of coarse salt. Perfect. That's when you hear voices. From the kitchen beyond, conversation. 2 voices, maybe 3, speaking in a language you don't recognise. Not English, not Spanish, not any modern language. Something older, harsher. You peek through the gap in the door. The kitchen is lit by firelight, just as you left it. But now there are figures around the fire. Not solid, not quite transparent. Somewhere in between. Ghost servants, preparing a meal that will never be eaten, following routines they performed in life and cannot escape in death. They don't notice you. They're too caught up in their eternal loop, chopping vegetables that turn to dust, stirring pots that hold nothing. You could slip through. They're not aggressive, not aware, just echoes. You push the door open slowly and step into the kitchen, keeping to the shadows. The ghost servants continue their work, oblivious. You edge along the wall, heading for the exit on the far side, the one that should lead back toward the main hall. You're almost there when one of them drops a knife. The clatter breaks their loop. They all stop, turn, look directly at you. Their faces are hollow, eyes empty sockets, mouths open in silent screams. They're not just performing routines, they're trapped, aware, suffering. One of them raises a translucent hand, pointing at you. The others follow suit, all of them pointing, all of them with those hollow expressions. Then they speak, all at once, their voices layering into a chorus. He comes, the Lord comes, run, and they vanish. All at once, gone, leaving only firelight and silence. From somewhere above, that howl again. Closer now, much closer. Edmund knows you're here, and he's hunting. Chapter 7. The Hunt. You run. No more careful navigation, no more strategy. Pure survival instinct kicks in as you throw yourself through the kitchen door and into the corridor beyond. The howl echoes behind you, inhuman and furious. Heavy footsteps pound somewhere overhead, tracking your movement. The ceiling shakes, dust raining down. Your phone's light bounces wildly as you sprint. The corridor ahead splits into 3 directions. You choose the middle path, arbitrary, focused only on distance and speed. Behind you, something crashes through the kitchen door you just exited. Not breaking it down, crashing through it, splintering wood and tearing hinges from stone. You risk a glance back. The thing that was Lord Edmund Hartwick is massive, twisted, barely humanoid, 7 feet tall, body elongated and bent at wrong angles. Its skin is pale, stretched too tight over protruding bones. But the worst part is its face. Still human enough to recognise what it once was, but distorted by centuries of curse and hunger. Eyes too large, mouth too wide, filled with teeth that were never meant for a human jaw. It sees you, and it smiles. You turn a corner, your heart hammering, and find yourself in a hallway lined with armour stands. Medieval plate mail, dozens of suits, standing at attention like silent guards. Edmund crashes into the corridor behind you. His movements are wrong, sometimes too slow, sometimes too fast, as if he's not quite synchronised with normal space and time. You weave between the armour stands, hoping to use them as obstacles. Edmund follows, but he doesn't go around them. He goes through them, his body phasing partially into the metal, then out again, scattering armour pieces like toys. Ahead, you see salvation, the grand staircase. You recognise it from when you first entered. The entrance hall with its massive doors is just beyond. If you can reach it, you can orient yourself, find the route to the east wing. You hit the stairs at full sprint, taking them 3 at a time. Edmund howls again, the sound so loud it physically hurts, pressure building in your skull. You reach the 2nd floor landing and immediately see your mistake. 3 corridors branch off from here. No markings, no distinguishing features, and you have seconds at best before Edmund reaches you. The salt. You grab a handful from the jar and scatter it behind you, creating a line across the landing. Edmund's foot touches the salt line and recoils instantly, smoke rising from where his skin made contact. He snarls but doesn't cross. The folklore was right. Salt hurts him, but he doesn't retreat. Instead, he begins to circle, looking for a way around. And the landing has multiple access points. You need to move. Now. You choose the right-hand corridor and run. This hallway is different from the others. Newer. The walls are panelled with dark wood, portraits hanging at regular intervals, and at the far end you see it. A door marked with a symbol, a coat of arms. The Hartwick family crest, the east wing. You run toward it, ignoring the portraits that shift and whisper as you pass. Behind you, Edmund finds his way around the salt barrier. His howl echoes down the corridor. The door to the east wing is huge, carved oak reinforced with iron bands. The kind of door meant to keep things in, or out. You grab the handle and pull. Locked. Of course it is. You have a crowbar, but the door is too strong. You'd need minutes to pry it open, and you have seconds. Behind you, Edmund emerges into the corridor. He stops, standing still for the first time, his oversized eyes fixed on you. When he speaks, his voice is layered, multiple voices speaking at once, past and present colliding. You cannot enter. The wing is sealed. The ritual will complete. The binding will hold. You press your back against the door, crowbar raised, jar of salt ready. The binding is broken, you say, trying to sound braver than you feel. 700 years, 7 cycles. Brother Thomas's counter-ritual worked. You're done. Edmund tilts his head, the gesture almost curious. Thomas failed. I performed the ritual every cycle. 1447, 1547, 1647, 1747, 1847, 1947. Each time the binding strengthened. Tonight makes 7. Tonight makes it permanent. Your mind races. If that's true, if Edmund completed the ritual every time, then Brother Thomas's plan didn't work. The curse didn't weaken. You came here for nothing, unless Edmund is lying. You think about the documents, the warnings, the journal entries. Marcus spent 9 days here and discovered the escape route. He believed it was possible, and that entry that ended mid-sentence, right before revealing the truth about the East Wing. What if Marcus was stopped not because he was wrong, but because he was right? If the binding was reinforced 6 times, you say slowly, working it out, then why is the castle still hunting? Why do you still need to feed? Why are the souls still trapped? Edmund's smile widens. Maintenance. Bullshit, you say. The ritual failed. Maybe not completely, but it failed. That's why you need victims. That's why the castle lures people in. You're not reinforcing the curse. You're patching holes. Edmund's expression shifts. The smile disappears. For just a moment you see something else in those inhuman eyes. Fear. You don't know what you're risking, he says. The binding falls, everything ends, the castle, the souls, me, all of it collapses. Every death, every trapped spirit for 700 years released at once. It would tear a hole in reality. The price would free them, you interrupt. You're not protecting anything. You're just too afraid to let go. Edmund takes a step forward. I built this castle. I bound it with my blood. It's mine. They're mine. I won't let... Behind him, a voice. Soft, feminine, ancient. My lord. Edmund spins. One of the portraits has stepped from its frame. The woman in the tattered dress, the one who tried to touch you in the gallery. She stands in the corridor, still flat, still two-dimensional but present. My lord, she repeats. Release us. Another portrait steps out. Then another. Figures emerging from paintings up and down the corridor. Men, women, children. Nobles, servants, warriors. All of them flat. All of them watching Edmund. We've served long enough, the woman says. 700 years. Let it end. Edmund looks at them, then back at you. His expression cycles through emotions too fast to follow. Rage, grief, loneliness, desperation. I can't, he whispers. Without the binding, I'm nothing. I cease. I face judgment for what I've done. You face judgment regardless, the woman says. The question is whether you face it alone or with our forgiveness. The portraits close in. Not threatening, just present, bearing witness. Edmund's form flickers, becoming more human for a moment. You see him as he was, a lord, a man, someone who made a terrible choice and couldn't unmake it. He looks at you. You want to break the binding. You need to enter the East Wing at midnight and destroy the anchor point. The place where I first cast the spell, but what? But I'm bound to defend it. I have no choice. If you enter, I'll kill you. Not because I want to, because I must. You check your phone. 10:47 p.m. 13 minutes until midnight. Then we have a problem, you say? Edmund nods slowly. Then, with visible effort, he raises one twisted hand and places it against the door to the East Wing. You hear locks clicking, mechanisms turning. The door swings open a crack. I've opened the door, Edmund says, but I cannot help you beyond this. The curse forces me to defend. Once you enter, I become the guardian again, do you understand? I understand. The anchor point is in the centre of the wing, the original Great Hall. You'll know it when you see it. Destroy the binding stone and everything ends. Including you. Especially me. He steps back from the door. You should go, before I lose the will to let you. You push the door fully open. Beyond is darkness, absolute and complete. Your phone light dies as soon as it crosses the threshold, as if the East Wing exists in a place where light cannot reach. You light a candle instead. The flame burns, but dimly, pushing back the dark only a few feet. Behind you, Edmund is already changing, becoming more monster than man again. The curse is reasserting control. Thank you, you say? He doesn't answer. He just howls. You step into the East Wing and the door slams shut behind you. Chapter 8. The Heart of the Keep. The darkness in the East Wing is alive, not metaphorically. It moves, shifts, breathes. Your candle flame bends away from unseen currents. Shadows gather and disperse with intelligence, testing your light's boundaries. The air is colder here, but also heavier, as if saturated with something invisible. Each breath tastes metallic, familiar. The same taste as the smell from the dungeon stairs. Old blood, old magic, old death. You take a moment to orient yourself. The door behind you is sealed, and you can hear Edmund on the other side, pacing, growling, waiting. He knows where you are. As soon as you reach the anchor point, he'll come. The corridor ahead is wide, formal. This was once the castle's primary wing, where lords entertained guests and conducted official business. Tattered tapestries hang on the walls, their images too faded to discern. Doors line both sides, all closed. You walk forward, candle raised, crowbar in your other hand, salt jar tucked into your jacket pocket. The first door you pass opens on its own as you approach. Beyond is a bedroom, preserved perfectly as if it's still 1347. A four-poster bed with curtains drawn. A wardrobe standing open. Clothes from another era hanging neatly. On the bed you see the impression of a body, as if someone just stood up. The blankets are pulled back, pillow dented. You keep walking, don't engage, don't investigate. Get to the Great Hall, destroy the anchor, get out. The second door opens. A child's room. Toys scattered on the floor. A rocking horse still swaying slightly though there's no breeze. On the wall, written in what you hope is paint. Help me, I'm still here. Third door. A study. Paper scattered across a desk. Candles burning. They're wax fresh. Someone works here recently. The papers show drawings, sketches of the castle from angles that shouldn't be possible. Perspectives from inside the walls, under the floors, in spaces between spaces. At the bottom of one drawing, a signature, Marcus. He's still here. Not escaped, not dead. Still here, trapped. Possibly for years, despite his journal ending at day 9. Time doesn't work right in this castle. Fourth door, a mirror room, walls lined with mirrors, reflecting your candlelight into infinity. But in each reflection, something is slightly wrong. Your image moves a fraction of a second out of sync. In one mirror, your reflection is looking the wrong direction. In another, there's someone standing behind you. You don't look back, you keep walking. The corridor ends at a massive double door. Carved into the wood are scenes of battle, victory, lordship, and at the centre, the Hartwick crest. This is it, the original Great Hall. You push the doors open. The hall beyond is vast, the ceiling lost in shadow high above. Pillars line both sides, holding up arched vaults. At the far end, a throne sits on a raised dais, and in the centre of the floor, set into the stone, is a circular design made of inlaid metal and precious stones. The binding circle, the anchor, point. It's beautiful in its way. Intricate patterns that seem to shift as you look at them. Geometric perfection that hurts to observe too long. The metals are silver, iron, and something else. Something dark that might be meteoric steel. The stones are rubies, emeralds, and obsidian, arranged in a pattern that echoes the castle's layout. You check your phone. 10:57 p.m. 3 minutes until midnight. You approach the circle carefully. Marcus's documents suggested you need to destroy it. But how? It's set into solid stone, the metals and gems fused into place with techniques you don't understand. Your crowbar might chip at it, but you doubt you can break it in time. The salt could disrupt magical workings, but this is ancient, powerful magic. A handful of salt seems insufficient. You're missing something. There has to be a way. You think about Edmund's words. I cast the spell with my blood. Blood magic. The binding was created with blood, so maybe it needs to be broken with blood. Your blood? Would that work? You're not a Hartwick, not connected to the original curse, unless that's exactly why it would work. An outsider's blood, freely given, breaking a binding made by selfish desperation. You take out the knife Marcus left in the study. Small, sharp, practical. 11 p.m. The castle bells ring. 12 strokes, echoing through the halls. But it's not midnight yet, it's only 11. No, you understand. Castle time. The bells don't mark hours, they mark moments of power. These bells are announcing midnight in the castle's own counting. The ritual moment is now. Behind you, the great hall doors explode inward. Edmund enters, no longer conflicted, no longer hesitant. The curse is in full control, and he's pure guardian now. 7 feet of twisted horror, moving with supernatural speed. You have seconds. You slash the knife across your palm, hissing at the pain. Blood wells up, dark red. You let it drip onto the binding circle. The effect is immediate. The metals scream, a sound like swords being sharpened. The gems crack, light bleeding from the fractures. The pattern begins to break apart, pieces of it lifting from the floor and dissolving into ash. Edmund howls, clutching his head. He staggers, his form flickering between man and monster, centuries cycling in seconds. You pour salt onto the circle, accelerating the destruction. The ancient magic fights back, pushing against you, trying to preserve itself. But the damage is done. The anchor is breaking. Edmund falls to his knees. No, 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 you don't understand what you've done. They'll all come through at once, the barrier between life and death. You've doomed. The floor cracks. Light pours through, brilliant and terrible. The walls begin to shake, stones grinding against stones. From every corner of the castle, you hear voices. Screaming, crying, laughing, praying. Centuries of trapped souls, suddenly aware, suddenly able to move. The portraits are leaving their frames. The shadows are taking shape. The servants are becoming solid. Every ghost, every spirit, every echo of death in this cursed place is manifesting at once. They pour into the great hall, hundreds of them, thousands, a crowd of the dead filling the space, all of them converging on the breaking circle. Edmund is changing again. His monstrous form is peeling away like old skin, revealing the man underneath. Older, haunted, exhausted, but human. "I'm sorry," he whispers. "I'm so sorry. I just didn't want to die. I didn't want to face what comes after. I didn't..." One of the spirits, the woman from the portrait gallery, approaches him. She's solid now, real, no longer a flat painting. She reaches out and takes his hand. "It's all right, my lord," she says gently. "We forgive you. It's time to rest." Others join her, surrounding Edmund. Not threatening, but supporting. A community of the dead, ready to cross over together. The binding circle shatters completely. The light intensifies, becoming a pillar that shoots upward through the ceiling, through the castle, into the night sky above. You shield your eyes, stumbling backward. When the light fades, the great hall is empty. Edmund is gone. The spirits are gone. The oppressive weight that filled the castle is lifted. You're alone in a silent, lifeless ruin. You check your phone. Midnight exactly. 700 years to the minute since Lord Edmund Hartwick cast his curse. And now, finally, it's broken. The castle groans. Not with menace, but with exhaustion. Stones begin to fall from the ceiling, slowly at first, then faster. The building is coming down. Whatever magic held it together for centuries just ended. You run. Chapter 9. The Escape. The great hall collapses behind you as you sprint for the doors. Pillars crack and topple. The throne splits in half. 700 years of suspended decay happens in minutes. You burst into the east wing corridor. The doors to the bedrooms hang open, rooms empty now. The child's room, the study, the mirror room, all abandoned. Whatever lived here has moved on. You navigate by memory and instinct, retracing your path through the disintegrating wing. The floor tilts beneath your feet. Walls crack, revealing empty spaces beyond. The castle is hollow, you realise. So much of it was magic, illusion, curse made manifest. Without the binding, there's barely anything left. The door to the main castle bursts open before you reach it. Beyond, you see the grand staircase, but it's crumbling, steps falling away into darkness. You leap, landing on the third step down. It cracks but holds. You skip the fourth and fifth, jumping to the sixth. Behind you, the east wing's entrance collapses entirely, sealed forever. The entrance hall is chaos. The ceiling rains debris. The tapestries burn with cold fire, magic consuming magic. The portraits on the walls are blank now, just empty canvases. The front doors, the ones that wouldn't open, stand wide. Beyond them, you see moonlight. Real moonlight. Not filtered through curse and shadow. Freedom. You run for them, dodging falling stones and broken furniture. Something massive crashes behind you. You don't look back. You dive through the entrance just as the entire facade of the castle begins to fold inward. You hit the courtyard cobblestones hard, rolling, scraping skin. But you're out. You're outside. You scramble to your feet and keep running, across the courtyard, through the gates, into the forest. Behind you, Blackmere Keep falls. Towers collapse. Walls crumble. Centuries of dark history erases itself in thunder and dust. You don't stop running until you can't hear the destruction anymore, until the forest is quiet again. Normal quiet, with insects and nightbirds and wind through leaves. Finally, gasping, you stop, lean against a tree. Check yourself for injuries. Cuts, bruises, nothing serious. Your phone is dead, battery finally exhausted. The candles are gone, lost somewhere in the chaos, but you're alive. You look back through the trees. Where the castle stood, there's now just a pile of rubble, already looking ancient, as if it fell centuries ago. No trace of the horrors inside, no evidence of the curse. Just ruins like any other forgotten castle in any other forgotten forest. You breathe. Deep clean air, free air. Then you start walking. Your car is somewhere on the road. With luck, it'll start now. Whatever kept it dead was probably tied to the castle's curse. As you walk, you think about Edmund, about the souls, about 700 years of suffering finally ended. You did that. You made the choice. You cut your palm and bled on ancient magic and broke a binding that should have been impossible to break. Part of you wonders if it was the right choice. Edmund warned about consequences, about the barrier between life and death being weakened. But then you remember the trapped spirits, the endless hunting hours, the portrait woman asking for release. They deserved peace, Edmund deserved judgment, and the living deserved a world where castles stay dead. You emerge from the forest onto the road. There, exactly where you left it, is your car. You try the ignition. It starts immediately, engine purring like it was never broken. You allow yourself a small smile. Then you drive, away from the ruins, away from the forest, towards civilization and safety and the rest of your life. Behind you, the ruins of Blackmere Keep settle into silence. The curse is broken. The hunt is over. You survived. Epilogue. The morning after you drive for 2 hours before finding a town. Small, rural, the kind of place where a 24-hour gas station is the height of late-night activity. You pull in, park under harsh fluorescent lights, and just sit for a moment. Your hands are shaking. Adrenaline crash, you tell yourself. Perfectly normal after an ordeal like that. The morning sun rises slowly over the hills, casting pale light over the streets. You step out of the car, stretching, muscles sore, but alive. The air smells clean. Coffee, wet asphalt, and something almost ordinary. Inside the gas station, the clerk looks at you oddly. Dust-streaked, clothes torn, hands bloodied. You nod, pay, and grab a cup of coffee. It's bitter, hot, grounding. You sip, letting the warmth seep into you. For the first time in hours, or maybe centuries, you feel safe. Outside, your eyes drift toward the horizon. The forest you ran from looks peaceful, serene. Nothing remains to hunt. Nothing remains to curse. Blackmere Keep has vanished from the present, leaving only the memory of shadows and the knowledge that you survived where countless others did not. You realize something. The story isn't just about survival. It's about choice, courage, and the burden of confronting something older, crueler, and more patient than you could imagine. And while the world feels normal again, a part of you knows that you carry the weight of that night, of the castle, the souls, and Edmund Hartwick inside you. But for now you allow yourself a single, long exhale. The hunt is over, the curse is broken, the morning light is yours, the world keeps moving, and so do you.